Now we're good. Welcome everyone, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Freund, I'm a co-chair of the Anti-Corruption Intergroup in the European Parliament. I'm here with two of my colleagues from the board. We have Chloé Ridel here with me from the French Social Democrat, and Moritz Körner, a German Liberal. I myself am a German Green. The fourth political group leading this intergroup is unfortunately missing here today. Michal Wojcikiewicz is the third co-chair with us from the Polish Conservatives, EPP, but for personal reasons cannot be here. All of us, and together with another colleague, we have traveled to Budapest yesterday and today. We have had a number of meetings with business leaders, with politicians, with civil society, to get a better sense of the state of corruption or anti-corruption here in the country. We have also visited an EU-funded project, a castle outside of Budapest, where 5 million euros of EU funds have financed the renovation, restoration of this castle. And now it has just been privatized. It has been handed over to the company MOL, the biggest oil company here in the country that is controlled by Viktor Orbán's entourage, let's say. So the European Parliament and us as an intergroup in particular, we have been very outspoken about the rampant corruption in this country. We have also advocated, negotiated and then advocated for the use of the conditionality mechanism and freezing EU funds to the country. So this visit has also served to see what the state is, how the reaction here on the ground, how the assessment is of this. I'm going to hand it to my colleagues to also share their expressions, and then we're going to come back to what lessons we draw from this. But first, to Chloé.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Hello, everybody. My name is Chloé Ridel. I'm from France. I'm from the Socialist and Democrats group, and I co-chair with Daniel this anti-corruption intergroup in the European Parliament. And we've been here today immersing ourselves in the corrupt system that Orbán has built here in Hungary. Of course, we know how it is done, but we've seen one example with this castle that was given for free, like for 99 years lease to this MOL company. That is just an example of how this cronism works under Viktor Orbán. So with the anti-corruption intergroup, we demand, notably to the European Commission, to be stronger against Viktor Orbán, because we've seen that for the past 15 years, Orbán has advanced his program. He has always said what he was going to do, and still we let him do what he wanted to. So for a bunch of years now, we have this new European law allowing us to freeze some of the European funds that are dedicated to Hungary. Currently, there are 18 billion euros that are frozen, that represent 3 times what Hungary receives each year from the European budget. It's 6 billion each year on a normal basis. So this is a huge amount of money for Hungary, but we now demand that 100% of European funds be freezed. Because this is a political tool of pressure. We should use it to stop. We won't accept anymore that Orbán destroy the European project from within, from the inside. We need to send a strong message, and we met this morning some members of Orbán's opposition in the parliament, in the Hungarian Parliament, and they told us, please, freeze the funds, freeze the European funds to Hungary. They called us traitor because we demand that, but this is actually a very useful tool, a political tool against Orbán, and Hungarian people know that this is because of Orbán that Hungary don't receive European funds as much as it did before. So, yeah, thank you very much, and we will continue fighting corruption here in Hungary and everywhere in Europe.
Thank you, Chloe, and also from my side, welcome and thank you for your interest. I'm Moritz Körner, German MEP for the Liberal Renew Group. I want to stress two things that we saw in our visit. First of all, I want to continue where Chloe more or less ended. As we decided on the rule of law conditionality, and Daniel and I, we negotiated that in the last mandate, there was always the fear that we never wanted to punish Hungarian citizens. We wanted to protect the rule of law, and there was always the fear that this conditionality might backfire. But actually, right now on the ground, also in polls, showing actually Fidesz trailing behind TISA, people more and more clearly in Hungary see that the EU funds are not coming because of the policies of the Hungarian government, of Orbán government, and that was very interesting to see on the ground. A second issue I want to raise that we want to strengthen is the question of competition policy, because we also had exchanges with the business community. We see a market domination in various areas in Hungary, and there's also a tool that the European Commission could use. We will develop in the rule of law the single market dimension as one dimension in the rule of law report. We have to strengthen this dimension, and we have to work together with DG Just and DG Competition in the European Commission to make sure that we also use the competition policy tools the European Commission already has on hand to protect the competition in markets, especially, of course, in the media market, but also in other areas, because the cronyism of Orbán is also a question of not enough competition, and the Commission has tools at hand that it can use.
So to conclude, we have seen the damage that Viktor Orbán's corruption is doing to the Hungarian people. We have heard this morning that just a couple of days ago, his son-in-law has made the latest acquisition of a large hotel, the Marriott in Budapest. And at the same time, we see that the billions of euros stolen by Orbán and his entourage have now yielded basically that 15 years of Viktor Orbán now mean that in purchasing power, Hungary is now the poorest country in the European Union. A number of neighboring or surrounding countries that were poorer on a per capita basis when Orbán took office. Poland was poorer per capita than Hungary. Romania was poorer than Hungary per capita 15 years ago. All these countries have taken over Hungary. Those countries are growing faster. The infrastructure is in a much better shape. Hospitals, schools, all of this is in a much better shape. Some sometimes say corruption is sort of a victimless crime, but the victim here is very, very clear. It's the Hungarian people that are losing out on economic performance, that are losing out in infrastructure, that are losing out in hospitals and schools, and that is something that we want to stop. We want EU funds to come to Hungary and make the lives of Hungarian people better. That's what we're all fighting for. Thank you very much, and if there are any questions, we're happy to answer those. Let's start there.
My name is Viktor Orbán, I'm from Germany, and I wondered that if you succeed in freezing all the money, then what will be? It's of course Orbán cannot sponsor his power system any longer with European money. But in former years, I had the impression that European Commission or Parliament tried to re-educate Orbán to democracy, and I think it's now quite clear that you cannot educate him into democracy, and that the EU doesn't do some things because they don't know how to perform after that. So if you now don't pay him any money, any longer, but you cannot throw him out, then how does it look like? What will be the consequence?
Well, I mean, we don't choose the Hungarian government. That is chosen in the Hungarian elections by citizens and the voters in Hungary. What we can do, however, is protect EU taxpayer money, EU funds. And the other tool, important tool that we have, and there again the European Parliament launched the Article 7, the so-called fundamental values violation procedure already 7 years ago. So we have been advocating and we have been fighting in the European Parliament for stripping the Hungarian government of its voting right in the Council, to put the maximum pressure that Hungary returns to a path of democracy, of rule of law, of respect of the fundamental values of the European Union. That's our job as members of the European Parliament. The rest, in a way, is the job of the Hungarian people. You want to go?
Vámos Ágoston from the Hungarian news site G7. As I know, the deadline of the RRF inquiries is 31st of August 2026. Let's imagine that there will be a completely new government from next April, and imagine that they set up a new government within a record-breaking time, so within a few weeks. What can they do within a few months to get the RRF? So I have read about the super milestones, the 27 super milestones. Is it a realistic expectation to fulfill all the super milestones within such a short time frame? Or they can do nothing?
So I think it will be, let's imagine your scenario. I think it will be a very difficult task. Because I think the Commission should not just release funds because there is a change in government. We did that in Poland, and I think it backfired now, because we have no changes on the ground. The president blocked, or was able to block. The rule of law is not reinstated in Poland completely. Of course, the Tusk government is not fighting against the rule of law like the government before, but the changes were not, the rule of law was not reinstated. And I think we have to really, and that was what we in the Parliament always argued for, we have to see reforms on the ground. Money is not blocked because there's a government that is not politically in a way that Brussels wants, but because the rule of law is destroyed. So a change in government cannot mean funds are directly released. A change in government that is doing reforms can mean that funds are released. So I think we have to really be clear on that, because otherwise we, in a way, prove some of the narrative that the right wing in Europe is using against all these instruments, that it's not about the rule of law, but it's a political instrument, and that is not true.
I mean, just to say, to complement maybe what Moritz said, the day that we see reforms, that at least elements of the rule of law, of the fight against corruption are restored, then some of this money can be unfrozen. We also know that the Hungarian government is already implementing some of the projects under the RRF without, for the moment, being able to get the reimbursements from the EU budget. So, in a way, as soon as reforms are there, it can go reasonably quickly, but the challenge is also quite enormous. The damage that Orbán has done in these 15 years, inscribing much of this into the constitution, it will be a formidable challenge to fix that.
Thanks. My name is Kestadi for the Budapest Business Journal. Very quick one, first of all. Did you ask to speak to government members, and If you did you get to speak to them?
I mean, we are in a... For me, this was a tense time to visit Budapest as a member of the European Parliament. Most of my visits, I have asked for exchanges also with the Hungarian government. For most of the time, they didn't even answer. The last few times, they have said no. But we also know, I mean, there are Hungarian government representatives on occasion that show up in our respective committees in the European Parliament. And I can tell you that the last few times that they came, for example, to the Fundamental Rights, Democracy, Rule of Law Monitoring Group, those exchanges have become quite meaningless because they no longer answer any questions. There is no longer a debate or even an exchange of ideas. We can disagree, but this is all no longer possible because they basically just attack. They insult us. So this time for this trip, we did not ask for anything.
And I can compliment on that. I mean, we've witnessed during this audition of the Hungarian government in the European Parliament that they were insulting us. And you may know that 6% of the state budget in Hungary is dedicated to communication. I must say propaganda. And those 6% of the state budget, some other states in the European Union pay 6% of their budget in education, for instance. Hungary chose to put it in communication from those things you can see on the streets, those pancartes, where you can see von der Leyen with Zelensky and Manfred Weber with, you know, caricature of the European Union. So you can see through those affiches their relation with the European Union, which is a relation of pure confrontation, unfortunately.
Getting back to the money, I think, did you say that it's 100% frozen because it's...
No, it's not yet.
That's what we want.
That's what we
because
want.
I was going to say, surely agricultural funds are coming through.
Sure, yeah.
And you can guess who's been buying the land for the last 20 years, by the way. But also some of the RRF funding is coming through, and I'm glad you went to this so-called castle, which it isn't, of course, it's stately home, a chateau or something. That's a small fry, 5 million euros, because that's small fry. I mean, for example, there is RRF money coming through, and it's going in. Yes, it is. That's going into grids. For example, the electricity grid, massive battery storage facilities to balance the grids. And of course, this all goes to either often MOL or MVM, the electricity company, or other companies which are state-owned. So your castle example is not even the tip of the iceberg, I suspect, but I don't know if you realise it.
We're fully aware of that, but if you would want to visit all the problems, all the corruption projects in Hungary, you would have to spend a lifetime going from one project to the other. The European Union is not giving any of the RRF money at the moment to Hungary. Hungary is implementing sort of from its own budget with the hope of getting this reimbursed from the EU at some point. So they are putting the RRF label, they're reporting to the European Commission that they're implementing these projects. But as we speak, there is no money from the RRF going to Hungary because the necessary milestones are not fulfilled.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I would thank you all very much, and yeah, do not hesitate to approach us if you have further questions. All three of us, you know, are now in a way leaving our heads as members of the anti-corruption intergroup aside and are attending the Pride here in Budapest tomorrow as well. Thank you all for coming. Have a good afternoon. Bye.